my name is Paige. I'm the creator behind Strings to Stitches, and today we'll be making my summer fun top, one of my best-selling patterns on Etsy. So let's get right into it. Here is the classic summer fun top that we'll be working on today. This is an extra large, which is what we'll be making. The stitches you'll need to know to make this top are a single crochet, a chain with a slip stitch, and as well as a double crochet. I have a size inclusive pattern for this top available on Etsy, ranging in sizes from extra small to 5XL. Also, my DMs are always open for questions you have about this top and sizing. For materials, you'll need a weight for acrylic yarn. I'm using Big Twist. I bought it from Joann's and it's in the color Rainbow Bright. Also, I have a Clover Amour 4.5 millimeter hook. Don't mind the end. My dog Ozzy likes to chew all of them off. And then just a pair of scissors. You can have the fancy kind. These are just what I'm using today. Okay, but first nail check. Now let's get into it. So our first step will be to make 2 bra cups so we can join them before we start on the body. So here's the first one. For an extra large, we're going to be doing 29 rows. Let's begin. Let's start on our second cup. First, you're gonna need to make a slip knot. I like to keep a very long tail, and you'll see why in a little bit. But regardless, on any size of the cup you make, you're gonna be starting with a chain of 16. So let's do it together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. There is our chain of 16. And now you're gonna skip the first 2 chains. So this one and this one. And you'll be putting a single crochet into your 3rd chain from the hook. So put it in, yarn over. You have 2 loops, pull over both. There's your first single crochet. Now you should have 13 more till you reach the base where your tail is. So let's continue. And 14 here, there's a close-up. You're going into the last on the end. There's 14. Okay, so I'm gonna call this the base of our cup. Whenever you reach the base, you're always going to chain 1 and flip your work for every single end. So that was 14. We're gonna do another row of 14 because now we need to add our increases on the end that will make our cup expand, so the size will grow as you continue crocheting. So let's do 14 again. 1, 14. Okay. So this is where people can get a bit confused. Now we need to start increasing in our chain 2 space where we skip those first 2 chains. So there will be a little space, not where we just put our single crochet, but right above it, right there. And now we'll be inserting 3 single crochets. So 1, 2, 3. So there's our increase. So the second single crochet is where your increase will go in the next round. And the ones on each side is the increase because you want your cup to get bigger as you continue to crochet the rows. So we did 14 up, so now we need to do 14 back down. There might be little holes in your work, but don't worry, we're gonna solve that problem later. So continue, 14 down, 1, 2, 13 and 14. Now that we have our increases, each row will increase by 1. So instead of 14 back up, it will be 15 now. And then we'll follow the pattern for the rest of the cup until you reach your desired length. So remember, chain 1, flip your work. Now we're doing 15. After you've done 15, remember your middle stitch in the top is where your increase will go. So now you do 3 single crochets in the same stitch. 1, 2, 3. Now 15 back the other side. 1, 2. 15. Okay, perfect. We're just gonna repeat the same pattern with our rows increasing every time. And then like this is our extra large. This is 29 rows. That's how many I'll be going on this one. I'll see you back when we're all done with our second cup. Final row, 29. All done. So now that we're finished with our second cup, we can work on attaching them. And this is where a lot of people struggle putting them together in this corner down here. So we're gonna work through it together. So when you finish your second cup, you are going to chain 1. And now we're gonna start working on single crochets along this bottom part. So the point of your cup should be facing you. You chained 1, and we are going to be putting 22 single crochets along the bottom. 1, 2, 3. Once you're finished with your second cup, you are not going to cut this. Leave it attached to your skein of yarn. What I want to do now is let's get rid of this tail. This is what I do. You don't have to do it. You can weave it in whatever way you like. But a lot of people don't like the gaps right here, and it's kind of inevitable no matter what way you do a bra cup. These gaps in the middle chain, you can't really avoid them. So I keep a really long tail, and all I do is I weave it in and out of the chain spaces where there's little holes. And once I get to the middle of the cup, I'll start working back down. So this is all I do. I will secure it if my tail is long enough. I'll put it through another stitch or two. But yes, and this helps with the holes if it really bothers you. If you're using like a solid color yarn, it's much easier to hide. It's kind of harder with the variegated yarns, but I use this method for all my cups. Again, it's just personal preference. Whatever you do, whatever works for you, continue to do that. But if you want to try this way, you can. So once I get back to the middle, the top right here, I'm going to start working back down through the other side of holes. So I'll bring it up one more. All I do is use my hook, I loop it around, and I pull through. So the very middle stitch. And now I'm going to go back down the other side. But like go to the just one stitch below. Like don't skip a whole bunch of stitches, because then it will look funny. And then whenever you have weaved it in enough to your liking, you can just cut it. I honestly usually use the whole tail, or as much as I can. And then if I'm using a variegated yarn, I just try to keep the color within the same color. So that is all I do. If you have a different way, please do that. I did the same thing on this one. Now that those are taken care of, we can start working unconnecting these two. And this is where a lot of people have some trouble in this corner piece right here. I'm going to explain it. So here we go. We're going to be putting single crochets along the bottom part of our cup, so the top should be facing you. For an extra large, you're going to do 22 stitches total on the bottom. So I like to use the middle part as a halfway point. So there should be 11 on this side and 11 on this side. Total 22. So let's do it. There's not really any right or wrong place to put it. I just keep it along as close to the bottom as I can. So 22 total. I chained up 1 from the corner, and now we're working on the bottom. So here we go. 1, 2, 21 and 22. There we go. 22 single crochets along the bottom of our cup. Now we're going to attach our other cup. So I'm not going to chain, I'm just going to leave it like this. We have our yarn connected on our hook. We are going to put our other cup, stick it through just the bottom corner, and I'm going to slip stitch it together. Okay, and then in that same spot I'm going to do a single crochet. So now it's connected, so that's 1. So now you need 21 more on this one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 21 and 22. So here you go. Now your cups are attached. They are attached now. This is what it should be looking like. It doesn't look like much, but now we get to start on the body piece, which is going to be covering like your abdomen, and we're going to be working down in this direction. So when you're at the end of your work, every single end, no matter what section or portion of the body you're working on, you're always going to chain 1 and turn. It doesn't count as a stitch. It's just to give you some space when you're crocheting. So now that we finished our first row of single crochets, now we'll start on row 2. At the end, you're going to chain 3. I like to keep them pretty loose. 1, 2, 3. You'll flip your work. You're going to skip that first stitch, the second stitch, and you're going to put a double crochet into the third stitch from your hook. So there is your double crochet. And then you're going to chain 1, skip a stitch, and double crochet. Chain 1, skip 1 stitch, and double crochet. And this is the pattern you're going to repeat once you get all the way to the end. Okay, we're getting close to the end. Chaining 1 more, and I'm going to put it into the side. It will just make, for when we start the side panels, it's just going to be a smoother transition because we put this last double crochet kind of off to the side. So now on your next row, you're going to chain 1, flip your work, and now you're going to be adding a double crochet into every stitch. So going into this first one, a double crochet. Some people like to do the next one just in the space. That's what that looks like. Personally, my preference, and I think it gives it like a nicer look when it's finished, I go into the actual stitch. This can take more time, so again, I think everything in crocheting is just personal preference. Whatever works for you, that's what you should do. Like, if it just doesn't matter that much to you, do you, boo? I'm not here to stop you. I want you to thrive. In every chain space stitch and every double crochet stitch, there will be a double crochet. And essentially this, you're just gonna repeat this pattern until you get to the end. Typically I do 8 rows total for any size, but this pattern is pretty customizable. If you do less rows, like if I were to stop after this second or third row, it would be more of a bralette. If you go to 8 rows for the body piece, it's more of like a crop top. If you do 12 rows, it's like regular length. So it's really personal preference. I feel like patterns are kind of just like guides, and then you can kind of like get inspiration from there. Okay, now we're getting here to the end. Back to our first row. So this is what it will look like. Again, people sometimes have a hard time. They get a little confused. So this is what I like to do. Because in this end, you still need 1 double crochet for the space, and you need 1 double crochet for the end. So you're not getting any decreasing. So I go into this very first chain space right here, do 1 double crochet, yarn over, and then here's a close-up. Then I like to just go right into this next chain space, and that's just how you keep your ends very neat and even. Just gives your top a better look. It's a little bunched now, but we still have to add our side panels out this way, so trust the process. Crocheting, I've learned over time, is a lot of trust the process. So back to our spacing design, I guess you could say, for the next row. Now we're just repeating the rows. It's spacing, double crochets, spacing, double crochets, and you can make it as long as short as you want. So chain 3, 1, 2, 3, flip your work. I'm really liking how this color is working up. My favorite color is purple, so maybe I'm biased. Skip the first 2, double crochet into the third, chain 1, skip 1, double crochet. Follow that pattern to the end. Okay, here we are getting to the end. See, we have 2, 1, 2, chain 1, put it in the second one, chain 1, turn your work. We're getting there. Oh, we're on row 8. Here's our last row. Let's do it. Okay, there we go. There is our 8 rows. Let's flip it over. Here's our 8 rows. This is what we are looking like. So now I would say we're about halfway done. We got the cups done. We got the body done. Like I said earlier, shorter, longer, whatever you like. It's totally up to you. Now we're gonna add these side panels that go like around your waist and your chest. So let's do that. We do not cut the yarn at the end of the body down here. You're gonna leave it all attached. You're going to chain 1 and you're going to turn your work so that you start working up the side of your piece. There's no extra like sewing anything on or adding anything. We're just gonna work straight up this side. Fun fact, a lot of crocheters when they're making clothing like to stop at like where your boobs and your body meet. One thing about my patterns is I go up the cup because you want to avoid all the side boob situation, especially if you're like me, more of a plus size lady. I don't want all that hanging out. So I usually, as a good like stopping point, I usually go to where the end of the first row meets. That's usually as far as I go for mine. Let's count this together. On my pattern, I say between 18 and 25 stitches. It really just depends how much coverage you're looking to get with your top. If you don't want that much coverage, or maybe your chest is a little smaller and you don't mind, you can stop here. If you want a little bit more coverage, you can go here, or you can do like me and go about halfway up the cup. I think everything in my pattern is like a recommendation. I think crochet is more like you can do whatever you like. So we're gonna start working up our first row in double crochets, and keep in mind for every double crochet sideways, like here's the first row. I just put 2 double crochets into that first row. The next row is where we had those chain 3 spaces. So all you're gonna do is find 2 spaces within those chains and add 2 double crochets. As long as there's 2 double crochets per row, you're fine. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 rows. So there should be 16 double crochets between the last row and then the first row of the body. I hope that makes sense. Just keep going. I got 4, 5, 15, 16. Okay, now the next thing I want you to keep in mind is we did a row of single crochets to attach the cup. So that's double crochet number 17. And now you can work up as far as you like. Remember, this row should be done in multiples of 2 plus 1. So you're gonna need to stop on an odd number. So I'm at 17. Let's do 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. If you wanted to stop at 25, like my pattern recommends, see, it goes up. You'll get some nice coverage. Keep in mind, I'm like a size D, double D, so I'm gonna probably go up at least 2 more on the side. So that's 25, 26, 27. Also keep in mind, sorry, I feel like I keep saying that, but we are gonna add a row of single crochets around the whole top because we're gonna just give it a better outline, and then it will connect this better where the cups meet as well. So I have 27 double crochets up the side of my top. Now we're gonna chain 1, 2, 3, skip that first, skip the second, and go into the third double crochet. It's the same pattern as the body. Chain 1, skip 1, double crochet. Chain 1, skip 1. The last one, chain 1, you have 1, you're gonna crochet into this stitch right here. There you go. Now for a size extra large, I'm going to be doing 14 rows. So I have 2 rows done, I only have 12 rows left, so let's knock it out. Last 2 rows. Okay, there we are, 14 rows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Okay, we are done with our first one. So at the end, you'll chain 1. Get your scissors, cut a long tail. And there you are. That is how you finish that piece off. Looks cute. I love what the colors are doing, how it's all alternating. So now we have to do the same thing on this other side. So get your piece, put my scissors back to the side, grab your yarn. Again, long, luscious tail for weaving in the ends. Attaching the yarn, I know, can be a little tricky. If you get confused or stuck, just try like pulling them apart and it makes it easier to see. So we're starting in this little clump down here on the end. If you turn it a little bit to the side, sometimes I just like starting in the last little corner right there. There you go. So long tail, yarn over, pull up a loop. Now you can tie it here if you want. It's really personal preference. I'm just gonna weave in my ends. So chain 1, yarn over. Now that chain 1 doesn't count for anything. So work your first double crochet. This is your first crochet of this side. Remember we did 27 on this side, so we will do the same exact number on this side. That was number 1, number 2, $14, $15, $16. Okay, ended with the right number. Remember, 2 double crochets per each row of your body. Remember we did a row of single crochets, so that's number 17. Now we just need 10 more double crochets up our cup. Remember, we want a little bit more coverage on our sides. Personal preference. You can stop here and work your rows and they'll just be shorter. I like more coverage, so we're gonna continue. 18, 19, 20, shoot, 21, nope, this, sometimes the yarn, one of the threads will come undone, and I have to go back. Okay, so I lost count, so now we're just gonna recount our stitches. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Okay. 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. Okay. Now we're just repeating what we did last time for the body and the other piece. So chain 3, 1, 2, 3, flip your work. We're double crocheting in the 3rd stitch from your hook, so, and then just continue the pattern. Okay, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. So we finished our 2nd panel of our top. Now, all that is left is to do the border and the straps. So I am going to share something with y'all. On my pattern, I used to do the border and then I would attach the yarn and just do chains for straps. I am no longer doing that. I probably haven't done that for about a year now, and that's just because I feel like the tops, especially the straps, they'll just last better over time, and over time yarn is going to stretch no matter what. That's kind of the inevitable. But if you do a chain with a slip stitch, then I don't know, they're just more secure. And I do that for all sizes. For a while I was only doing it for extended sizing, like extra large and up, but then I was just like, why don't I just do this for everybody? So here we go. When you get to your corner, whichever panel side you do second, you're done now. So do not cut your yarn. Keep that baby attached. You are going to chain 1, and now we're going to start working on the border. This is where you can kind of have fun with it. For the sake of this tutorial and to match the pattern, we're just doing a single crochet border. You can literally do any kind of stitch, any kind of fun stitch on the bottom, around the sides, and it will make your top more unique. But we're just going to do a plain Jane today. So I chained 1, and now we're just going to single crochet all the way to the other side. So for earlier when we were doing our side panels up this way, and we said there was 2 double crochets for each one that was sideways, it's going to be the same for the bottom, but with single crochets. So for each row, you should have 2 single crochets. So 1, 2, and you kind of just have to play around with it and just kind of insert your hook along the bottom, but more importantly, the stitch count. So I'm 3 rows deep. I have 2, 4, 6 single crochets. So that's what should happen all the way across. So after you finish the last row, now you're gonna get to just regular stitching along the bottom, and in each one of those stitches will just be 1 single crochet. And basically you just do this all the way till you reach the other side panel, and then you do just like you did for this one. Every row you should have 2 single crochets. And then for those of y'all wondering, I'll show y'all how much yarn I use at the end. Usually it's only a skein. If you're making any of my summer tops, my summer series, I guess I should make that a thing. My summer series of tops, because I definitely have like more summery items and more like a wintry items. But most of my summer patterns, you don't need more than 1 skein of yarn. Unless it's the Paradise pullover, and that's the exception. Because it's a sweater. Dooty dooty doo. Almost there. So close. I keep like missing stitches or like getting my yarn not cut. I think my tension is just like way too tight. I really can't help it. I've tried to fix it. Oh, okay, so I just did my first 2 stitches of my body or my side panel. Remember, every row 2 single crochets. I know I'm saying this many times, but this is one of my most asked questions where people get really confused. Every row, so for a sideways, horizontal, whatever you want to say, double crochet, there will be 2 single crochets. And there's no exact place where to put your hook. Just put it as close to the bottom as long as you're going around some yarn. And also, when you're doing a more solid color, it's like very seamless looking. Like I know on this one with the color changes, you can see some of the stitching on the bottom, but I honestly think it makes it look cooler. I use a lot of variegated yarn. I like very colorful projects. I don't know, they tend to work up faster for me. single crochets. 1. The second one, this is basically the start of your corner, and this is the same thing you'll do in every corner. So you put 1 single crochet, now you're gonna chain 1, and you're gonna put another single crochet in that same exact stitch. So it kind of gives it a more rounded edge, and then it leads you to working up the next direction. So you already put 1, so now you're working into that chain space, and just move the tail out the way. We're gonna weave it in later. Some people crochet over it. I do sometimes, it kind of just depends. And then keep the pattern, chain in the, or single crochet in the chain space, single crochet on top of the double crochet. Now we're just working up this side. And I like to not cut my yarn at the end if I don't have to. I like just using the same working yarn as long as I can. I feel like the less ends to weave in, the better. Okay, we're almost to the end. So I'm crocheting on top of this double crochet right here. And now this is just our chain 3. So remember, we're working into the one closest right here first. So there's our first single crochet. Now we're working into the second chain. So remember, 1 single crochet, a chain, kind of turn your work now that we're working in this direction, and then we're putting another single crochet in that same exact spot. So there's your first single crochet on the next side. Now you're doing 1 single crochet, and that finishes that first row. And now 2 single crochet for each row until you reach the cup. Okay, we're working in this last row. So let's do our 2 single crochets. Okay, now we're gonna start working up the cup this way. So now you're putting a single crochet into this next one on the cup. This is where your first row of your body or side panel was. So now you're going into this stitch right here. And then just go up to the top of the cup, and then we'll add our first strap. Oh my God, guys, you're so close to finishing. This is my first YouTube video, and this is the first time I've like sat down and crocheted something one time under a video camera, like sitting down. And I'm gonna tell you, I'm exhausted. I'm tired. I'm a break girly. I like to crochet for a little while and stop, and crochet for a little while and stop. So this was a task. So I hope this helps y'all, for real, for real. Okay, so now we are back at the top, and these 3 stitches, I can already tell, are our 3 stitches that were used to increase on the last row of cups. So you're going to single crochet into the first one. Okay. And this is where a stitch marker could come in handy. I've been doing this for a while, so I don't need them, but you could put a stitch marker in that middle stitch of every row as you crochet, and it's just an easier way to keep track. So you did your single crochet. Now you're slip stitching into the middle stitch. There's your slip stitch. And now you're chaining the amount needed for your size. So typically I chain between 175 and 225. It just depends on how much back you're gonna be showing. So here's the top I already have finished. So all the styles of backs are called corset like style tops, just meaning they don't close. They all tie up in the back. And that's the same one as the one you're making. So they all have an opening style back. See, if you see this top, you see how thin these straps are? Out with the old and in with the new. So I will be chaining, I think, 200 for the straps just to be safe, but I'd rather have longer straps than too short of straps, but it is your choice. So 200. $96, $97, $98, $99, $100. And then when I get to 100, I just start over because it's easier than saying 101, 102, 103. So back to the beginning. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. $96, $97, $98, $99, $100. So we did 100 twice. That's 200. This is our strap. Remember, this is the same strap that's gonna go over your shoulder and then lace up this back piece. That's why you always want it to be long enough. And don't let it fool you, yarn is very stretchy. So it might look shorter than what it actually is once you like pull it to be like taut, which just means like tight. The corset style tops, you kind of need someone to like pull the straps to make sure you're really in there, unless you're like kind of flexible. So to each his own. But skipping the first stitch on your hook, going into the second one, we are slip stitching all the way down. Yes, this is going to be tedious, but I promise you it will be worth it. So just slip stitching. If you don't know what that means, we're going into the stitch, we are yarning over, and we're pulling through the first and the second. Just making our strap a little bit thicker. You'll feel more secure, and it will probably last you longer as well. I would like to say this is the most tedious process of the tops and probably my least favorite part. I hate slip stitching, not gonna lie. But after making tops for 3 years with this, the chain straps, I just feel like if I'm gonna sell a top, I gotta sell a top to be worth it. And with them little bitty ass straps, it ain't. If you got big girlies sitting on your chest, it ain't gonna do you any justice having them thin ass straps. So here we are. I feel like there should be a faster way to do this, but there's not. Sometimes I try to hold the thinner chain and the older one, and then I can easily slip it through both, but it's kind of hard. So if you have a current version of the classic summer fun top, which is this one that we're working on today, I will be updating it before I release this video for this new way to do the straps. I know on the pattern, I have the old way of just doing the border and then adding chains for straps, which is still definitely an option, but I would just recommend it for like smaller cup sizes. It's just, I know it will last longer, but the girls with the bigger biddies, the thicker straps really do help with overall longevity of your top, as well as keeping the girls in place as you're doing all your fun summer activities. So if you have the old version of the pattern, please just take a screenshot of it or take a picture of it and email me at stringstostitches@yahoo.com and I'll send you the new version. You can also message me on Etsy, whatever's the easiest for you, my darlings. But yeah, we're gonna update her because this is actually my very first pattern I put out. I want to say like 2 years ago, and this one is my bestseller, and then her sister, which I think might be the next video I do, the two-tone summer fun top. So yeah, you'll just have to stay tuned to see what she looks like. And I think doing the straps this way, I'm sorry, I keep talking about these damn straps, but I think it's good information. And by doing the straps, you chain in one direction and then you slip stitch in the other direction. So you know you're going back towards the cup, and then you're not having to cut your yarn and reattach it, which I told you earlier is like one of my biggest pet peeves when crocheting. I hate cutting yarn just to reattach it in a different place. So if I can get to the place I need to be without cutting my yarn, by golly, I'm gonna make it happen. So this is why we do this tedious ass method. But you could single crochet, but I've also tried that. It's a little bit too bulky for my style. But again, what do I know? I just do what I am most comfortable with, and I hope you do the same thing. Because once we get back to the cup, then we can just continue our border. And then once we get to the top of the other cup, like the point, and add our other strap, it's just so much easier. And then we'll finish the top all in one go without ever having to reattach our yarn. And this strap, the other strap, is going to be the same exact as this one. You're doing the same exact method. Slip stitching into the top stitch of your cup, chaining the amount you need, and slip stitching it back. And then once we get back to the base, obviously I'm going to show you, but we're going to slip stitch into the same stitch you started, and then continue with your single crochets in the next stitch. We're almost there, and you will see. Okay, that was our last chain. So now we're going back into at the top of our cup. So I don't know the best way to show y'all, but right there, slip stitch back to connect. Oh shoot, oh hold on, I think I pulled that off the camera. So we're going into this, we are slip stitching, make sure you get it through both of those pieces. And now we're going to continue our single crochets into the next stitch. So let me do a few and then I'll show you what it looks like. There we go. So there's your new and improved strap. I just think that looks way better. It's way more secure. And there's no extra ends to weave in because we didn't have to attach this here. So we love it. Now let's continue with your single crochets. Go until you get to like the V of where the two cups meet, and then we'll do a little chat. So we have 2 left, so let's do our last 2 into our cup. There we go. Now you are going to, you see this space right here between the cups? You're going to do 1 single crochet through there, and I try to keep it as tight as you can, and then do your next single crochet into the cup, the other cup. And again, just keep it, oh my god, this yarn is squeaky, I apologize. Just keep it all as tight as you can, and then do a few more stitches and then I'll show you. I think you just need me to do a few stitches so you can see what it's really gonna look like. And there you go. So it just gives it a cleaner V neck or V shape with the 1 stitch in the bottom. If you want to go through the stitch, you can. I went through the whole space. Personal preference. Okay, now continue your single crochets back to the top. Okay, we're almost to the top. Okay, here's our top 3 stitches. These were our increasing stitches of the last row. So you single crochet into the first one, slip stitch into the next, and this is where you're gonna do your straps. You want it to match your other side. Remember earlier I said chain between 175 and 225 depending on the size and how long you like your straps to be. This is an extra large for me. I am 5'11", I weigh about 265. My straps are going to be a chain of 200. So, and then we're slip stitching back down in the same direction, just like the other side. So you can continue. Okay, I just chained 200. Now we're gonna start working our slip stitches back down the other way. Skip your first slip stitch and continue. Slip stitch back into that first stitch on the cup. Keep your stitches very tight and single crochet into the next. And keep single crocheting all the way down. Last single crochet on the cup. Turn your work. So now you're working this way on the side panel, and pull my yarn. And remember, for each row, 2 single crochets. Look how nice it looks down here on the bottom. Nice lines. I mean, this is still straight up here, but just to give it a little finishing touch. Okay, let's keep going. We're almost done. This is the last part. Okay, now we're working back into our first chain 3 space. So single crochet into the first, single crochet into the second. Okay, chain 1, single crochet back into that space. Now that was your first single crochet. Here's your second one into the space, and then onto the double chain space, double crochet, chain space, double crochet. Oh my gosh, we're so close. Okay, so we are about to end our top, so let's just get a look close up. This was our first single crochet when we were working along the bottom, and I just put 1 single crochet on top of this double. So now I'm single crocheting in that chain space. And now we need a single crochet back into where that first single crochet of the row was. So there's your single crochet. Don't forget your chain to make the corner. And then back in this first stitch, you're just gonna slip stitch it together. Chain 1, leave a long tail, and you, my friend, are done. You've crocheted all of your top. I am so proud of you. I cannot believe we did this. We did this together, okay? My first video, maybe your first crochet top, maybe your millionth, who knows? But look at her, we love her. She's so cute. Let me get a better look. Here we go, this is what she looks like. This is how much of our big twist yarn we have left. It's not very much. We had 269 yards to begin with, and this is how much we have left. So I don't know how many yards that is, but just know you didn't use the whole skein. So these ends you weave in, you can use a sewing needle, you can use your hook, totally up to you. But let's put this baby together. So lay her flat. As you can see, this is where we did all of our stitching. So this is actually the front of our top. Our border is facing you, so you need to flip it over. This is the inside of your top. Separate your straps. Now you have your top laying out flat. You're going to fold in the sides. Okay, wrapping it around you. I usually line up the ends with the middle of the cups because this is how much of an opening you should have. Remember, these are not closed tops. They do have an opening on the back. If you want more coverage, just add more rows. Very easy fix. So you're gonna take your strap on this side. I just like to go in through these little holes that we've created. It makes it much easier. And you don't even need the hook, to be honest. You just pull it through. There you have it. You can go in through the stitches. You can use your crochet hook to pull them through. It's totally up to you. Pull this one a little more so they're even. Remember, they do have a pretty good stretch to them. Just no matter what you do, make sure you're skipping the same amount of stitches on this side. So I'm gonna leave 1, 2, 3 in between, and I'm gonna put it through the 4th space. So then we're gonna do the same thing on this other side. Skip 1, 2, 3, put it into the 4th, and then just repeat 1, 2, 3 into the 4th. Wow, there you have it. There she is. She's all laced up. So if you want more lacing in the back, make your straps longer and you'll be able to put it through more of the holes. If you don't want as much lacing, you can do less, but I always recommend at least 4 passes. So 1, 2, 3, 4 through your top. And there she is. That's what she looks like. Now let's do a little try on. So here is our finished summer fun top in a size extra large. I hope you enjoyed crocheting with me, and stay tuned as I have another version of this top with a little bit of a twist. Happy crocheting, and I'll see you next time.